Hello and welcome to the Two&Fro podcast. I'm Raquel.
I'm Diane.
And I'm Carole. Today we are happy to be joined by a lady that I can only describe as phenomenal, incredible, an MBE, a musical theatre star.
Yes.
I mean, I could keep on going on with lots and lots of different accolades, but most of all, my sister.
Yeah.
I call her Sister Bev.
Sister
Sister
Bev.
Beverley Knight.
Hello.
Thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Absolute pleasure. Oh, didn't know that.
Yes, my dear.
Sister Bev, you know. I love it. I love it.
So obviously, your career has been incredible and you're amazing. And I just wanted to firstly ask you how you started out in your music career and how that linked into going into musical theatre.
To take it all the way back to the beginning, I started off like a lot of people in church, singing for the glory.
Amen.
God, hallelujah. And, doing all of that. But also I was lucky enough to go to a school, like a normal regular school, but they had a strong music department and drama department. So I was one of those kids who I was never home from school on time because I was always, I'm rehearsing for this play. Oh, I'm rehearsing because the choir have got this. Oh, I was one of them. This kind of dual training, if you like. I had what I would call the kind of realness from the church. I had the realness from the church, where you're learning to communicate your message through song. And then when I went to school, it was all, and yes, and you've got to project, and you've got to, and your shoulders back, Beverley, and all that kind of business. So the net result was quite a well-rounded, education in how to stand on a stage and sing with soul. Yeah, with plenty soul acting there as well, because they didn't teach us that bit at school. But they did encourage it. So at the same time, again, I was part of Wolverhampton Youth Theatre. So in the summertime, all the kids are ramping and running up and down in the parks and on their bikes and into the ice cream van and all of that business. I was learning lines. I was, in some play with the rest of the kind of musically inclined kids over the summer. Being that kind of person, that led to me getting noticed by other kids who were like part of other youth groups. We had like the Afro-Caribbean Cultural Centre. We had the Afro-Caribbean Cultural Centre in the middle of Wolverhampton. And I used to beg my mum, please, can I go on the bus? Please, can I go culture centre? Please, can I? You're not going. Because it was in the middle of town and, and all of that business. But eventually, as I got older, she was like, all right, then you can go. So I go to the culture centre. And of course, that was when I'd meet people who had links to pirate radio station.
I love
and all the people who were like doing their little dances and all that kind of the local community doing local things and promoting local talent. There was people like Skyline Radio, who are now a community station because we don't have pirates again really because of the digital age, and they would get me to sing their jingles. I was a kid. I was like teenage, but they'd get me to sing their jingles and all that kind of stuff. And then eventually that led to them getting me on the bill when they'd bring over some artist for a PA who was having a hit record. They'd be like, we're going to promote the local talent. Promote the local talent. So it'd be little me with my tick, tick, tick glasses. Oh my gosh.
So cute.
Oh my gosh, my big old Mr. Magoo. I look like the typical church.
Cute. Yes,
Oh
cute.
my Lord.
I'd hear of those.
But I could
Blue
sing.
ones.
Oh, mine were, I had the National Health ones. Pink, blue,
And brown, I think
and
it
the
was.
tortoiselle ones as well.
Tortoiselle.
Yeah,
Oh my
I had that one, and I had black ones. I had
Wow, they sound fashionable.
Oh yeah, they're wicked now. Now they're all like, the big Joe 90.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, back then they weren't fashionable.
No, they weren't.
But yeah, I'd go up and I'd do my little bit and everything. Eventually, I must have been about 19 now. That led to me singing, going up for a guy called Sinclair, who had a hit record at the time called Casanova. Way back. He had a tune called Casanova. This is 91 or some business.
That's my first record.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, we're talking back in the day now. It was, Skylines had a birthday party. I think it was their 5th birthday party on the air. Illegally. And Sinclair came. But you know what? That was brilliant, because if it wasn't for them radio stations, the amount of Gabrielle and Mark Morrison and Wayne Marshall, all those guys.
They're good.
It was these kind of stations that allowed them to be able to get all the club exposure, which then allowed them to get on, specialist radio and then mainstream success.
And they did so well, that's why they ended up making them...
Buying them in. Buying them in part of their networks.
Yeah.
And then getting taken over. But
Choice FM.
exactly. Exactly. So... it was, I mean, you're talking that level, so grassroots level, if you like. So I go up, I do my little sing-song, cover of some whatever. I think it was a Whitney song. Yes, Sister Carole. So, and so I did my little bit, and the A&R guy who was with... Sinclair, so the A&R guy, artist and repertoire, they're the guys who sign talent, develop talent, nurture the talent, help them make their album, whatever. That's what they're meant to do. A lot of them don't do it, but anyway. But so he was there. This guy, in this case, was an absolutely brilliant A&R guy called Mark Sher. He saw me and was like, I'd love you to come to London, have a meeting, love to, interested in signing you, blah, blah, blah. Would you be interested? And me, with my precocious self, said, I'm going to university, because I was about to go to uni. This was in the summer. I was going to uni in the late September.
To study?
Oh my gosh. So theology was my major and performance arts was my minor. So that was what I was going to do. So I said, I'm going to university, but I think I'm really good. So if you think I'm really good, you'll wait for me to finish my degree.
Yes. Know who you are.
You know what? I knew... Part of it was because I was quite scared. And, I've never left home before and I'm going to university and I didn't think I was ready. I wasn't ready. To be fair, I wasn't ready. I needed to at least know how to live my life independent of my mum and dad. So
you're thinking about the backup plan almost, isn't it?
Oh yeah, thinking of, exactly. And okay, right. So my mum and dad come from Jamaica.
Come on.
Right?
That's what I was getting at.
You know this. Anyhow, I said to my mum and dad,
I'm gonna go sing, Mum.
I'm gonna go and sing and dash away my degree. No, was never gonna happen.
Not an option.
There's not an option. So, and I was that nerdy child. I love to study. I've always got my little boring history facts. I'm that person. And you know what? They waited. They waited. So in my final year, so I'm 21, about to turn 22 because I deferred a year. So I was 21, turning 22. I signed the deal. And this is, like I said, in the middle of my final year. And I didn't think anything much was going to happen in that year. So I was like, might as well sign the deal. Who told me? Because I signed it on my days between lectures. Can you imagine? Between lectures. I was popping off to London where exciting. I was, it really was. I was meeting up with two guys who the record label, Dome Records, had put me to work with, Neville Thomas and Poulet Petto, who together were called 2B3, writers and producers in Brixton. Just wanted me to get comfortable in the studio environment and all of that. So, writing a few songs. The first white label they wanted to put out as a tastemaker while I finished my degree to get some buzz going was Flavour of the Old School. And it went mad. It went everywhere. So suddenly, I found myself with a kind of club hit record while I was in my final year of my degree. I hadn't even written my dissertation. So they're saying, we need a follow-up single, we need an album, we need it now. now, like, because the buzz is massive.
Yeah.
We need it.
That's
it.
made me anxious hearing it.
I was what do you mean? I've got to write. I've got to write a dissertation on sect, cults, and churches of 20th century Britain. I can't. I've got to. I can't do it. You know, I've got all this research to do. I've got to go to the Jehovah's Witness and sit in on a sermon. And oh my gosh, somehow, do not ask me how I managed to do the dissertation and write the album. And so the album
come out with a gospel song instead, innit?
Listen, some Jesus Take the Wheel. It would have been me writing Jesus Take the Wheel.
Dissertation over tea.
Why? So what happened was, while the white label was going on and all of this madness was going on, I wrote it. They released Flavour of the Old School, and commercially it didn't do anything, but specialist-wise it was everywhere. So I left uni, got my degree, and then they re-released it, and then it broke the top 40. So, and back then, breaking the top 40
as a
a black
Is this
British
top of the pops time?
Yeah. So this is, I mean, I didn't, with Flavour of the Old School, I didn't get on top of the pops, but I broke in that world. I was in that world. It was so rare. There was, before me was like Morrison with Return of the Mac in like 93 or whatever.
To this day.
To this day. But there wasn't a lot of us who were getting that kind of love in that time. I mean, when I first came out, you had a girl group who were phenomenal from here called Truce.
I remember Truce.
They were bad. Michelle Escoffrey, who then went on to be one of the country's greatest songwriters.
That's
you know,
them in church.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the Escoffrey sisters. All of those guys there, right? And lovely Diane, and beautiful voice. I mean, there was a bunch of us. Piece by Piece was another group. Lincoln Jean-Marie, whose son Trey Jean-Marie has written for Ariana Grande and ASP Rocky. And I came from that heritage.
Good soil.
Do you know, we all were trying to come through together. And I was the one who managed to get through and get that top 40 slot. And then after that,
how did that feel? Like, knowing that you'd broken through? Like,
I can remember sitting in the back of the car writing. I was in a writing session with Neville and Poulet in Brixton, driving around. The white label had just gone to Choice FM. And we were driving away from there. So we're just driving back up the road to where they were based in Brixton, because Choice FM was based in Brixton, if you remember. Before we got out the car, they put Flavour of the Old School on, and I was like, "That's me! That's me! That's me!" And then feel the flavour for you, feel this little squeaky one.
We're all dancing here, by the way.
And I was like, I can't believe it! I can't believe it! And then the next thing you know, I go back to Wolverhampton now,
Just
and
surreal,
I'm
isn't
hearing
it?
myself on the radio in Wolverhampton. I just couldn't believe it.
That sounds surreal.
And people all over the country, like in the specialist like R&B world, knew who I was. I was like, this is...
oh, that's a tune.
I could not... All these people in Essex are like, I like that tune. Yeah. All these like white people. What's going on? I cannot put into words how exciting that felt. And I don't think, no matter how many singles you subsequently release and all of that, that feeling, I'll never ever get past that first feeling of just hearing myself on the radio. And then after I heard myself, I was like, sound proper squeaky though.
It came out.
You know how no one likes their recorded voice? And I was like, don't sound like me. But it was me.
Sounded phenomenal.
Exactly.
It was just, it was a moment. It was a real moment. Then after that, I wanted to kind of expand on that, and I wanted to have a band, and because I come from church, you know, being to church is pure live music and live musicians.
Different.
But I was going around doing lots of club PAs, which was fine, but I wanted to take it to the next level, and I felt as though Dome Records had taken me as far as they could, so I started to look around for what was going to come next and who could take me to the next level. And that took a while because back then, black music was just supposed to be PA music.
Yeah.
You're supposed to turn up with your cassette. Cassette, you know.
Back in the day,
Cassette.
I remember cassette.
Listen to cassette. And then
TDK.
and exactly, TDK, D90s. And then, not the C90 because that was whatless. Very no. When you try and record off the radio, just pure.
I start speaking over it.
Exactly. Try and cut out the DJ. But yeah, and then you'd upgrade to a CD. So I had CD backing tracks. But you know, I mean, I wanted to go further than just doing that. So the hunt was on for where I could go, and it took a while. It took a couple of years, and in that interim came Shola Amma came out and had big hit with You Might Need Somebody in that whole period. Then Kelly LaRock came through with little bit of loving with a little like a little stunt. To this day she's still
Let's not forget Omar.
I mean Omar was doing this long before me.
Oh really?
Omar was like late 80s. You see, before my generation, I have to do this and give honor and respect because before my generation you had that whole acid jazz movement and that was Omar and that was where Jamiroquai came through and all those guys and then my own cousin Donnie came through. Love Makes the World Go Round and Unbreakable and all of that was prior to me coming through. So they paved the way. And then obviously before Jackie Graham, David Grant, all them 80s people. So I came from a lineage, but it was my generation who really started to get a hold on the charts. So in that interim, and I started to look around for, you know, where my next home could be. And Parlophone Records, who, you know, were home to the Beatles and at the time were home to Blur and Radiohead, you know, bands, big world conquering bands. They had an A&R team who, and the head of the label, Tony Wadsworth, they were looking at me. And this same guy, Mark Sher, who had signed me initially to Dome Records, had moved to Parlophone. So he was instrumental in getting me a deal at Parlophone. Well, the minute I signed, he then got an offer to go and work in music publishing. So he left. But Parlophone, to their credit, still kept me and still worked. So when I signed to Parlophone, after my, if you like, hiatus and, you know, Kelly LaRock and all those nice guys coming through, I wrote a song called Made It Back.
Yes. More dancing.
To say, you know, I'm back, I'm picking up where I started off from. I've left the wilderness and I'm back.
What a comeback tune.
So that was it. And ever since then, to be fair, it's just rolled and just, my career just went on. Now that song, I managed to do Top of the Pops. That one and Greatest Day. I got on Top of the Pops. That was life-changing. That was life-changing. Once you're on Top of the Pops, everything different level, different. That's when people are chasing you down in the road. Going, excuse me, are you Beverley Knight? Excuse me, and you'd be like,
Top of the Pops is the modern day X Factor, isn't it? Kind of.
In terms of how big it was,
that launches you into celebrity. I think is it not?
For me, I would think Top of
Top of Pops isn't a competition, though.
It's
is it?
not.
But it's like you kind of platform. I don't know.
In terms of, I suppose, the bigness. Terrible. My mum would beat me. But in terms of the enormity of the platform, that's the closest. But Top of the Pops was you had a laugh with it, and some of it was cheesy. But if you got on Top of the Pops,
big time.
that meant you were
it
was huge. I mean, I was so glued. You couldn't get me away.
To watch Top of the Pops.
Every Friday,
exactly.
Is it 7?
Seven.
You had it changed. It was a Thursday and then it was a Friday, and then sometimes they had people singing on there live, and then they used to have people miming up on there, which was dreadful. Exactly.
Dancing, just want to be there, can't dance.
Exactly. I wanted to be in the audience so bad. How do you get on the audience of Top of the Pops. When you were in Wolverhampton in some normal, school and that, you didn't know how to get on them shows.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
Amazing.
it was such a. It's hard to explain now, especially for younger people who have grown up with no Top of the Pops and have digital and all of that, to explain how one show could change everything.
How has the industry along the way, good or bad, changed?
I think the industry has changed immeasurably and permanently. You've got the rise of reality TV and competition TV. So competition TV and reality TV emerged into one with shows like X Factor, where you've got, it's a competition. I mean, we've always had competition shows. I remember Huey Green, Opportunity Knocks.
Yes.
Stars in the
Who
Rise.
Stars-
I remember Stars in the Rise.
Stars in the Rise.
Stars in the
And
Rise.
tonight, Matthew,
Yeah.
I'm going to be...
I wanted to come on that show so bad.
And everybody was Tina Turner. The one dry Cropsy wig. And dash it on.
Glitter dress.
Exactly. And come on with their wide leg stance. Every backside was Tina Turner. And everyone who thought they could sing a little bit was like Frank Sinatra or
Yeah.
something. You're
Yeah.
not Frank Sinatra,
No.
sit down.
Exactly that.
But you had shows like Opportunity Knocks was the model for Britain's Got Talent. Britain's Got
Yes.
Talent
Yeah, 'cause it was
is what
singing, wasn't it?
Opportunity
Yes,
Knocks,
yes.
because that was more like variety.
Okay.
So you had all kind of like Lenny Henry didn't come through for Opportunity Knocks, but before Opportunity Knocks was New Faces,
Yes. Yeah.
which was the precursor, and he won that and became Lenny Henry. But so many people came through from Opportunity Knocks. But unlike X Factor, Opportunity Knocks, you could win the show and there's your prize and you go about your business and that's you.
Yes, you done, yeah.
But in X Factor, it was like everybody who comes along is signed and put under a contract, and so everybody's got this promise, and it seems to be, well, we'll put some money on all of you and see which horse comes in.
Yes.
Right.
Whereas with Opportunity Knocks, people were only taken on if they were extra special, sparkly,
Had that X
really
factor.
had that X Factor.
Yeah.
So less of a kind of, I want to say dog eat dog kind of,
Yes, it does feel like that now, doesn't it?
And now the whole reality TV thing is, you've got the backstory, and I want to make it because of the backstory, and
To change my life.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
X Factor has come in like a juggernaut and has changed the way that people have a path to a music career. A lot of people have gone that way. So the whole idea of starting up and
Pirate radio,
forming,
grafting.
The basic
pirate
kind
radio
of-
or playing in your pubs and your clubs, which is how I started. I played in bars and clubs and pubs and that, and then the deal, and then now it's just like
straight to the-
you're working as a waitress in a cocktail bar and then X Factor, and your first gig is Wembley.
Exactly.
Which is like what?
Yeah.
Do you think sometimes it's more about the fame rather than the actual...
Definitely celebrity culture, isn't it?
Like, rather than it being about the talent as in the performance. Like,
Actually having a passion for
I feel
it,
for you, Bev, that even if you weren't famous or even that part wasn't there, you'd still be doing what you do.
I'd still be doing what I do.
You're meant to be.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But then I feel sometimes it comes across certain people are doing it because they want to be famous.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
And there is a lot of that, and then they'll use this show, which is a singing show, to launch a career for something else. And that's the nature of what those shows are.
Because I think
they're TV shows.
Because I think when you came through, like you said, you're grafting, you're talented, where before you wouldn't really go into that any kind of artist kind of work, whether it's theatre or singing, unless you really actually had the passion, because you're not thinking about the outcome necessarily. To some degree, you're thinking about how much you love the art, and so that gives you the passion and the longevity, doesn't it?
Absolutely. I think the difference is fame for me was always a byproduct of being successful in making music. Nowadays, a lot of the people who are famous, it's become an end in itself. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
Not a byproduct. The actual aim is just to be famous.
Yeah.
So
What you can get.
by any route, you know. So that's one way in which I think the music industry's changed. That route to success and to be heard is changed completely. Other thing is just the technology. I mean, when I first walked into a studio, I walked in and you had the mixing desk, obviously you had your microphones, but you had something called reel-to-reel. That's how you were recording.
That's how I used to edit.
Reel-to-reel, that's right.
Reel-to-reel, yeah.
It would be, you'd record onto tape. And that tape would wound round. And if you make a mistake,
Oh my gosh.
you better go back to the beginning. It's quicker sometimes to go back to the beginning and sing the thing again, which was why when you did it live, if you had that live experience, it was no big deal to sing it again. Because you've been singing live your whole life.
Exactly.
So, but if you couldn't really sing, you're going to struggle. Because you're like, my voice is tired. And then you have to cut in and edit. And it's physical tape. You've got to slice the tape and
fix it.
Exactly. And then you started to do reel-to-reel, but put it into computers. And then, of course, you started to edit them on computers. But you still had to get it accurate. And of course, nowadays, you know,
nothing.
There's no reel-to-reel. You just sing it straight into the computer, you know, and off you go. And nowadays you've got auto-tune. You don't need to be able to sing. Every song's got the auto-tune.
Sometimes when you hear somebody live and then you said that they don't sound like the CD.
No,
because,
exactly.
Their voice is not the same.
No.
That's it.
But then you get the artists who do sound the same on the CD as they do live. Like, wow, that's an artist.
That's it.
Well, we've now come to the end of this week's episode.
Yes, and please do not forget to comment and subscribe to our channel.
Tune in next week, we'll be talking more to the lovely Beverley Knight.
See you then.
Bye.
Bye.